Hello and welcome everyone to a special video here for the World of Football YouTube channel. I am your host, Adam Snow. Joining me, as always, is the founder and creator of the World of Football, my father, Randy Snow. Dad, how are you doing today?
Excellent. Want to really talk about some arena football today.
I could tell because you somehow fit yourself into that very tight Clint Dolzell jersey you got on.
It's fitting pretty good from here on up, but you
Yeah.
don't want to see the rest of it.
No, we do not, but we appreciate you putting the effort in to wear it anyway. But it isn't just the two of us, guys. We are also joined by a man whose arena football knowledge and passion we hold in the very highest regards, and that is Tim Capper of ArenaFan. Tim, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
Doing good. I'm glad you guys asked me to join your little. I guess we call it a round table between the three
Yeah.
of us. So it's yeah. I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
Yep, I'm sure people are tired of seeing the old man and myself going back and forth about arena football. It's nice to actually have somebody we consider an expert on here to actually, put some sense into both of us and actually give us, facts. Because sometimes him and I are just kind of operating on speculation, but you actually are a man in the know, and that's why, you're a guy to follow on all the social medias. So
Oh, speculation can be fun though. I mean, sometimes when
that's
you
the
don't,
fun part.
yeah, when you don't have all the information or you've been given stuff that you can't talk about that it really is
Mhm.
off the record, you still have to speculate even though you actually know. So it can be fun sometimes.
For sure. All right. Before we get into talking about the upcoming Arena Football League season, guys, I wanted to ask Tim if you could tell our viewers who aren't familiar with ArenaFan what exactly it is, how you got involved, and how you fell in love with arena football in the first place.
ArenaFan.com has been around for this will be its 26th season, 26th year in existence. So last year was the site's 25th year, even though the AFL didn't exist. It basically is a site where anybody can go to check out the full history of the Arena Football League from the very beginning back in 1987 all the way until today. And all the good and bad that it actually happened to go through, including from players to birthdays to stats to multitudes of teams. It's there. We also have some. Well, we're bringing back this year. We're also having some free games which people will be able to play once again. If anybody knows that and has been around for as long as we have, they'll know that ArenaFan was one of the first sites to have any type of fantasy sports that was available to the fans way back when. So, but yeah, it's a site, message boards, everything that's there that you want to, if you want to talk about the AFL, by all means, come on over arenafan.com. Myself, I've been watching since the days of ESPN. The original ESPN. So we're talking, 1987, 1988. I think it was either live or on tape delay. Which anybody who knows about the AFL, the early days, yes, it was on quite a bit on tape delay for ESPN. So, but it's me. I've always, I've liked leagues that are that aren't the norm, like you guys, you guys like the USFL, the UFL, the et cetera, et cetera. I'm kind of like the same way when it came to the Arena League. It was just a different game. It was, something new to me, and it really intrigued me because, as I said, it's 50 yards, nets in the end zones, and what the heck type of game is this type of thing? So I've just been following it ever since, and then it just grew into there with Arena Fan, uh, you know, becoming a thing, and I joined the site there as a staff member, and I've just been just trying to. We've all just been trying to make sure that the league is represented properly, and as is the history also. So.
Hmm. Yeah, I remember back in the day, the Arena Football League had their website, but I found myself going to Arena Fan more often than the official league website just for more stats, just more information, a lot more thorough articles. It's always been and still continues to be one of the best hubs for arena football information, in my opinion. Not just because I have one article somewhere buried in that website somewhere, or Dad's got a bunch on there, but it really is. I mean, I'm not just saying that to blow smoke. It honestly is one of the best arena football sites out there, if not the best arena football site out there. And recently, you just changed the site's format from, was it archive mode to live mode? I forget the exact phrasing.
Yeah, we had it set in historical since the league
Historical.
collapsed or folded or whatever you want to say, went dormant in 2019. We try to do a few things there with some historical podcasts which are out there. There's a 20 episode series that is currently out there, where you can find all podcasts, and or they're on YouTube also, on our YouTube page. But yeah, I mean, we just made it active again, so it looks a little bit different. If you went there recently, until the past, I think the last 2 weeks or something like that, it's different now. It's back to its full active mode, where you can find a little bit more than you did before. And as I said, a couple minutes ago, for instance, like the pick'em game that we're going to be having once again this year.
Right on. Dad, you look like you had a question you wanted to jump in with.
No, I was just going to say that ArenaFan was really good from when I'm doing an article and I want to get the idea of what teams were around at a certain time. You've got the franchise chart there, and I love that because I can see that here's the teams that were playing this particular year, and this team lasted from this to this. So whenever I needed to dig up some information on a team I'm talking about, I would go right there, and it's all very visual. So that to me, that's the greatest thing I've ever seen was the franchise chart with the team logo, every year that it was there, overlapping all the other teams. So that's awesome. So it's always been a great research tool for me.
Yeah, that was the goal, and it's not. And by the way, it's not just me. I understand that I may be the face and the voice of ArenaFan for the past 6+ years or whatever it is, but there's a lot more. There's a lot more to ArenaFan than just me. There's a lot of people that behind the scenes, and who did the coding, and who the owners, the multiple owners that we've had over the years and stuff like that. So it's all labor of love, and we're glad, Randy, as I said, for what like you've been doing. That was the point of the site. So
yeah, it works great, and I appreciate it.
All right. The Arena Football League is set to kick off its 33rd season after being dormant for the past 5 years. It's been about a year or so since the journey began for this new Arena Football League to get to this point we're currently at. With only a few weeks till kickoff, we've had to endure a lot of unknowns. So, how are we feeling, guys, about where the league stands today at this moment? Dad, let's start with you.
Well, it was kind of a rough, rocky start. A lot of things were, I wouldn't say promised, but a lot of things were talked about that kind of didn't come true. But now that we've got the 16 teams, which I would have been happy with 8 teams personally, but they went with 16, so we've got 16 teams now, and got them all lined up in divisions. I'm excited to see what's going to happen once the league kicks off. But yeah, it's been a rough year for getting this league off the ground again.
I've always been, optimistically optimistic, or cautiously optimistic. And I have been from day one, even though, was able to speak with the commissioner early on. I've been able to speak with others early on. It is true that a lot of, I think it's how people are looking at how the league has come back over the last year. I mean, everything has not been perfect. I will say that. Um, I probably would have done different things differently, but I mean, from speaking with a lot of the people who are involved with AFL HQ, that there's a lot more than just getting and naming the teams, getting them out, et cetera, dropping this, dropping that, whatever it may be. But I'm happy where we are at currently. Being less than a month until kickoff. I mean, there are still things that I think that still need to be answered. But as I said, I think by kickoff, a lot of the things will be answered, and I think we'll have a lot more announcements too about who else the league has partnered with.
Yeah, I mean, I was super excited. Maybe got my hopes a little too high to start. Kind of easily, gently came down for a little bit where I was like, oh boy, now I don't know. I was like in a very long period of skepticism for a minute. But I'll be honest, I think lately a lot of my skepticism has kind of been pulled back. I've been very optimistic, especially after the announcement of the NFL Network deal. And then for a couple of days, we thought, oh, they don't even have all the teams on NFL Network. Then they rectified that. All the teams are going to be on NFL Network at some point, which is very cool. So I think a lot of my apprehension has been, dissipated. But like you said, still a lot of unknowns. They're currently in like the process of revealing uniform, at least the home uniforms for teams. We've gotten 4 so far, which for the most part have been pretty good. I think there's one we've all kind of agreed on that wasn't the best, but might not be the whole reveal. So we'll see leading up till the first games here in a few weeks. With that, I also want to go back because, with all this talk about skepticism, all this talk about all our hopes for this league, back in February last year, Dad and I did a video called 5 Things the AFL Must Do. And our first point was that the league needed a great app. They do have an app. You can currently download it for iOS and Android. Tim, have you used their app at all? How do you feel about this app? And, any feelings, positive, negative towards it?
I mean, I like the app. I mean, it's not fully complete. I think there are still a few quirks. I think for anybody, at least I don't know how it is with iOS, but I know with Android, I know if you try to read a story in Android, for some reason the text has been changed from black to white, so it's a white on white, and you really can't read the story. I have let them know about that, or at least I've made it be known that there's an issue. I'm sure sooner or later that they will be adding the schedules and the TV broadcasts, et cetera, et cetera. But in this day and age, you do need to have an app, and it basically it mirrors what the league website is. So that's a good thing. It seems almost to be identical to what the actual league website is. So, I mean, can it be better? Yeah, sure, it can be better. I'm sure we'll find out because it's not run by the league. It is run by Humble, one of their major sponsors. So I know that they are working in tandem to try to get as much information and to make it as good as it can be.
Yeah, well, the very first thing you see when you open up the app is it says upcoming schedule and it says schedule to be announced. Well, it's been announced for a long time, but like you said, it's not on the actual website either. I mean, the full schedule. You've done a good job of putting it on ArenaFan already, week by week, who's playing and who's not. So yeah, that's the first thing that jumps out at me when I open the app. So I'm not totally happy with it, but once the season gets here, hopefully they'll kick in and have everything up and running.
Yeah, still, there's a lot of potential this app could have. I won't say I'm disappointed. I mean, it's almost kind of what I expected. I'm sure, like Tim was saying, there's probably still some stuff they got to work out, but I don't know. To me, it's just kind of one of those apps, like it's in my folder with all the other sports leagues, and of all those, like the UFL, even a couple other leagues, this is the one it lacks a lot to be desired, but we'll see. We still got a couple weeks, so I'm still kind of holding out hope that they can,
Right.
rev that thing up before the season gets rolling.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and our second point during that video was that we felt like the league needed to find the right broadcast/streaming partner. With the announcement of a partnership with the NFL Network for national games and Gray Television for local broadcasts, for me personally, once those announcements happened, that was, I already mentioned, washed a lot of my skepticism and worry away. How did that make you guys feel, Tim?
Oh, I was happy. I mean, it was probably one of once it was finally announced, because I think it was one of the worst kept secrets, because it seemed like all the other owners during their coaches shows and the owners shows were kept on hinting at it and stuff like that. But it's a huge coup. I mean, this is something that the league, that arena football in itself hasn't had since the NBC days. So to have this many games and potentially more on local, and potentially, if it comes to how it's being teased, another streaming service also, this could be the most games that we've ever had, the league has ever had on television in its history. So I'm just happy about that. As I said, NFL Network is a worldwide product, so it will be seen by eyes everywhere. I would imagine also if they do end up having some sort of streaming partner, whoever it may be, or whoever it was hinted at that it was going to be, that's going to be amazing too. And then the local contract with Gray TV, it'll be in local markets, so you really can't complain, because they seem to have quite a huge reach, at least in the U.S. when it comes to who they're going to have on television. So it's you can't ask for anything more. We're probably going to get more, but currently I'm quite happy with it.
Yeah, I think it's great. Anytime you can associate yourself with anything NFL, it's a good thing. You're going to get noticed. People are going to watch it because it's on the NFL Network. But they were also on the NFL Network many years ago, and I wasn't totally happy with the coverage at that time. I thought they didn't give the AFL kind of respect that it needed. I thought, it's like they couldn't wait to get away from the game to go back to the NFL coverage, or show some game from 2005 or something like that. And I just, to me, the NFL Network just didn't really respect the game like I wanted them to. But it's a new day. I'm hoping that we get some great coverage, and a lot of people see it because it's on NFL Network, and I think it's a good thing that they are on NFL Network again.
Yeah,
I think the days, by the way, of NFL Network from 2010 to 2012 there, Randy, I kind of agree with you because there were some issues that were happening. I remember, those are the days where the league had just come back from 2009, having a year off. Let's throw in the infamous strike game that happened. And then there was the Arena Bowl that was being held in New Orleans, where it was bumped because of a Johnny Manziel preseason game. I am under the impression that this is a hell of a lot different. I think they're a lot more. They have a lot better relationship with the NFL Network than a lot of people actually know about. So I think that we're going to get from things I've heard. It sounds like that we're going to get treated a little bit better. The league will get treated a little bit better than it was in 2010.
Good. I'm glad to hear that.
All right, our third point was that they needed to find a voice for the league. While that's still kind of to be determined with the NFL Network, we don't know really what broadcast teams they have, or at least I don't think I've seen that yet. But I know Dad was very happy to get the satisfaction of having Eli Gold return to the Arena Football family by becoming the voice of the Nashville Cats. Are we hoping for any other voices to join the league this year?
Well, we've kind of thrown this around when we've talked about it before. We've been talking about Eli Gold for years. To me, he was the gold standard, pun intended, for arena football coverage and just being the voice of the game. And so it's great that he's back at least with one team. And we've talked about maybe Kurt Warner doing some coverage, maybe Cedric Bonner and Ari Wolf. They made a great team. Whatever network they were broadcasting for, probably TNN back in the day. But I mean, even if it's somebody I've never heard of, if they embrace the league and do it justice, I'm happy with anybody that really loves the game of arena football.
I think we'll be okay. I think Ari Wolf is. I think he will be a part of the broadcast crew, at least for NFL Network. Obviously, said Bonner can't because he's currently a coach with Billings, and there are no bye weeks, so I don't know how that would work. But you never know. I mean, maybe they have a game that is not on one of the other dates or whatever that they have a broadcast. Maybe a Thursday. I don't know. Eli Gold, that would be pretty cool. I mean, even though he currently is the radio voice of the Nashville Cats, it would be cool if they could bring him in because I think people don't remember. If people remember, I mean, he was the voice of the AFL for TNN, and he did a couple of the regional broadcast games for NBC. So that's the last time that we've seen him do arena football. But yeah, it would be pretty cool. Maybe he'll be the television voice of, or be a part of the broadcasting when they do a game in Nashville. But I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Like I said, I was just happy when they had made that announcement that he was going to do their radio stuff. It was getting one of those classic arena voices to come back and be involved with the league in any capacity. So that was a big win for us over here at the World of Football when he signed that deal. All right, our fourth point was that we had hoped that this new league was going to respect the game of arena football and its history. I can't say they haven't done that. I feel like they're getting the nets, they're doing all this visual stuff that's what we were accustomed to. Tim, is there any anything you could tell us that maybe they're doing in regards to just making sure they're keeping the history of the game intact that we've known and loved?
The history, I think, is going to be kept intact. I mean, I know I was one of the people at the very beginning, and I guess I really didn't think about it or think it out properly. Is that it's like, oh, are you going to be keeping the same rule? Will Orlando be adopting their old, all their team, stats and stuff like that? It's all going to be doing the same. But then I kind of thought that this is technically a new league, sort of as like the USFL was, and I don't remember them saying, "Are you going to adopt the all the league, you know, rules and well, not necessarily rules, but all the different stats and and stuff like that from way back when in the 80s. So I think they're going to do this thing right. I think these will be new records that they're going to be setting, but they'll also be historical records that will be able to be looked upon when it comes to, I guess, pitting. I guess we could say 24 versus the 2024 versus the other teams in the other years. So I that's what I'm understanding, and I think. But either way, I think they are going to be they're doing this right. They are doing this right when it comes to recognizing the AFL properly.
Well, I did hear them use the term the 33rd season once or twice. So that at least I like. I don't know if they're going to be calling the championship game Arena Bowl 33 or not. They haven't talked about that.
I think it's just going to be called Arena Bowl.
Okay, so
yeah,
doing away
either
with
that or Arena Bowl 2024 or something like that. But I don't think they're going to be going with the. They could change their mind, as we've seen.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Tim, let me ask you one other question while I'm thinking about it. Shoot, now I forgot my question.
Was it about where the Arena Bowl was going to be?
That's it. Thank you. Now I was doing
notes are important, kids. Remember.
I was doing some research, and I swear I saw somewhere on somebody's schedule. They had the full schedule. I can't remember what site it was, and I can't find it again. But I swear it said that the Arena Bowl was going to be in Tampa, which blew me away because they don't have a team in Tampa. No. And Adam, you said you saw something that it might be in Minneapolis. So
it's where I saw, but I don't know for sure.
I think it was. I think it's one of the few
where
things
it's going to be.
I think it's one of the few things that hasn't changed. I think the commissioner has not been, he hasn't been quiet about this, and it hasn't changed. That it's Minnesota. It'll be held in Minneapolis.
Okay.
And I think that, along with he talked about the All-Star game too. I think it's going to be a giant weekend where it's going to be. You're going to have you'll have the All-Star one day, and then you'll have the Arena Bowl the next. So
okay.
But I think, as I said, I know it hasn't been announced officially. I think there's some talk about what's happening for the playoffs, which I know has keep changing. But Arena Bowl, that's my understanding. It is going to be in Minneapolis.
Okay, good enough for me.
Yeah, leave it to you, Dad. You like using your atlases and finding directions to places, but for some reason, I don't know how you get lost on the internet the way you do to find Tampa Bay as the location for the Arena Bowl. That's just, how does that happen?
Well, it's because I'm still using Ask Jeeves. That's why.
That answers so many. That answers so many questions.
I used to love that.
One user. The one user. All right, and that's actually kind of a perfect question you had, Dad, because that brings us into what our final bullet point was for that video, and it was that clearly hasn't come true, but we had hoped that there would not be a neutral site Arena Bowl, at least for now. We did give that caveat. Instead, the league has doubled down. They've even made their playoff games neutral site games.
Potentially.
Potentially. How have we come to terms with this being a reality? Does this still bug anybody? Tim, how do you feel about this whole thing? Because we've made it very clear that we are very anti-neutral site games for the postseason.
I think it was. I think once we started getting them, when the first two, we had Vegas for 2, and then we had New Orleans for 2, but then they brought it back to New Orleans after the league came back. And I'm kind of on the fence. I'm kind of a 50-50 guy when it comes to neutral site. I understand the reasoning behind it, though.
Yes.
Because if you look at the neutral site games, yes, there usually was a week in between the conference semifinals versus the Arena Bowl, so that they could bring in bigger acts, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know. I guess it's all about television now. Everything seems to be currently controlled by the NFL Network schedule, which I get because the same thing happens with other leagues also. I'm okay with it. At least I know know where to fly. I know that I can make plans to go, hotels, flights, etc. And they won't cost more than an arm and a leg. I can only just give up my arm to go. So I said I'm still a 50-50 guy, but I'm okay with them starting off with this. Again, I need to hear more about the playoffs, though.
Yeah.
to really gauge on what's going to happen, because that really hasn't been determined yet. So,
Dad, you still feeling the same way?
Well, I'm not as adamantly against it right now. They want to do a neutral site, fine. I would prefer not, but it is what it is. So I'm just going to go with it.
I think I've definitely softened on it. Like, I'm okay with a neutral site game. The question marks around the playoffs was a whole other animal that I'm still kind of, definitely not sure if I'm for now, because
Yeah.
I don't know. I was always, arena football to me was always family and fan first, and like I always thought my philosophy when they've come back is I hope they really hit that home. In a lot of aspects, I feel like they've done that. They've been very community driven, fan driven, and I just feel like that just start a league up has kind of, I won't say it's taken it away, but it's kind of lessened that for me. But it could still work. I'm not saying it can't. It's just a personal preference for me. And you guys know me. I get really weird about numbers on uniforms and all this stuff. So I don't know. I hope it works out. I really don't want it to go bad, but I could see the potential either way with them going with that. So
Yeah.
hey guys, so that's going to do it for this video. We do have much more to talk about with Mr. Capper, so we hope you will come back again for part 2 of that video. Please remember, we also do have a podcast, This Week in the World of Football, where we talk all things in the world of football. Obviously, check out ArenaFan and all the great stuff over there. Links down in the description below, and we'll see you guys for the next part of the interview.